And I'll go to the gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman.
Coming out of COVID, everyone said a soft landing was impossible and a recession was inevitable. I want to commend you and the administration. It looks like we've seen a soft landing. We've continued to have historically low unemployment rates and historically low unemployment rates for people of color. And in the last 18 months, we've seen a 4.7-point decline in the inflation rate as measured by the Consumer Price Index. Is that the greatest decline, I realize you may not have done the calculations, but I did the calculations. It's the greatest decline that we've seen in an 18-month period this century. Do you have any reason to disagree with that?
I hope that's true, and I'm glad you said it because it's certainly a lot. I can't validate the statement, though.
I'm sure you have a fine staff that will do the calculation, and hopefully we'll see the press release. When Secretary Yellen was here yesterday, I addressed an issue that both you and her should be concerned with. I've always opposed Operation Chokepoint, where for political reasons, banks wouldn't provide or might not provide financial services. Florida and Tennessee have passed laws giving anybody who's denied a bank account or even a loan a way to claim that that was for political reasons, and it opens up the possibility that banks would be pressured by those laws to release their suspicious activity reports, which I understand are supposed to be private. And so I hope you'll work with the Secretary in making sure that the laws of Florida and Tennessee do not adversely affect our ability to deal with suspicious financial circumstances. You have a dual mandate. I think you have a third mandate that is implied, because the budget deficit poses a great risk to price stability and to keeping unemployment low. And you don't deal with spending, you don't deal with taxation. But in two ways, you dramatically affect the budget deficit. Federal government is the biggest borrower in the history of the world. Interest rates affect the forthcoming budget deficit. And at times, you've turned over to the federal government up to $100 billion in profit. And so I hope that you would consider whether your first two mandates imply that you at least have to look at how your policies affect the budget deficit. I hope that you will go with republication of Basel III and insist on that. I know you're dealing with two other regulators on that. A recent assessment by PricewaterhouseCoopers showed that the original proposal would lead to higher borrowing costs for small and medium-sized businesses. And in every way, Basel III seemed to be slanted toward telling the banks, go and put your money on Wall Street, where you just are going to have interest rate risk. And don't loan your money to local Main Street businesses, because there's credit risk there. And in fact, if you had a fair system, you would mark to market all bonds, not just those that are, quote, available for sale. I hope also that as you redo Basel III, you treat energy tax credits, green energy tax credits, the same way you currently deal with low-income housing tax credits, that you keep in mind the effect on the securities industry, particularly municipal bonds, that you don't unfairly to local business say that if it's a publicly traded company, it counts only 65%, and that you look at mortgage servicing rights as an asset, and that you fully account for the private mortgage insurance. I know you give some credit for that, but frankly, a 80% loan to value and a 90% loan to value that has private mortgage insurance pretty much expose the bank to the same risk. I'll ask you one question about the debit cards. You're planning to provide only, I believe, a 0.3 cents additional charge for dealing with fraud prevention. Fraud is just skyrocketed. Would the Fed consider increasing the fraud prevention adjustment before finalizing its proposal?
And that's part of the comments that we've received on the interchange rule, and it's something that's a concern that we're aware of, and we'll take that into consideration.
I yield back.